Hey everybody, Blueprints and Barbells. I had recorded a whole bunch of things. I don't know what was going on. Like, just erase this. I had to change the location. Anyways, we're gonna go. A lot of people asking what was architecture school like, right? I don't. It's hard to explain to them. So, I remember there was this cool architecture film that we saw during our school year. That goes through the story of a couple of students that are in the 5th year, which is their final year of school at Pratt in New York, and it does a very good way of laying out what the culture it's like in architecture school. For a lot of you that might want to go into it, you'll get to see this. And this is kind of like the icing, the sweet spot, right? I don't think they show a lot of like the bad stuff, but okay. So I guess this is, I don't know. I keep pressing space and I keep stopping the recording, so we're gonna keep our hands away from spacebar. We'll keep it on this. So we're going over a film. Well, you guys saw the intro, kinda, right? So we're going over a film by. It's called Archiculture. It's gonna go over what architecture culture is like. What I've been saying before this thing got erased was that it's very unique profession. It's hard to describe what we do in school specifically. So this is a good video to kind of give you guys an idea what it's all about. It's called Archiculture. I was just showing a video of 𝗧𝗨𝗥𝗡𝗢𝗢 over here.
He's so insensitive and he tore down neighborhoods and this, that, and the other. It's like, you know what? Get in a car.
We all have this guy in our studio. It's like the one guy that gets too deep into
Take the 𝗙𝗢𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗢𝗏 Bridge into Manhattan.
Theory and
then you will understand what he was trying to do.
He loves it so much that he's trying to explain to you
spectacular.
A certain project.
It is spectacular. You're thinking about it now because the autumn. Oh yeah.
Add on that
now we sit in traffic and we look at it. But back then, like the city had to make that transformation.
The great thing about architecture schools is it still takes place in a kind of space where people discuss the work together in a kind of both a personal way, a one-on-one
and that's good
way,
and bad, right?
and
good
a
in
very
studio
public
because
way.
you get to collaborate.
Ultimately, there's a kind of arena. There's a public arena where the work is discussed, where students can
your work,
present themselves personally to other people
and
show that they have a stake in the work and what they really think about the work, and that's extremely
not a lot of people
important, I think, to the development of an architectural project, because
when you have deadlines,
that's ultimately how
I think that's one of the hardest
architecture at
things
certain points is really developed in the real world. It's both an important lesson, but it's also a way in which, through that kind of intensely personal and human contact,
professors, the people you work with, like, I went through it, so you should go through it. But I think thanks to mental health and things of that nature, there's been more emphasis on proper time management and not making these students that go days without sleeping, right?
I think a lot of the culture of studio happens at the most random times, like the most random hours.
This has happened.
I hope that, yes. I think the humor adds another level of energy, that you can bring.
There you go.
So you got moments where, we're all like joking around and we're doing the work and we're joking and we're vibing and whatever. Some guy will come in like, well, that's why you guys don't get any work done because you're always doing the shit. And we're like, the f you. Go and do your project then and live in your little world by yourself.
And that was me and my friends.
The humor brings the interaction.
It was like 6 of us were minorities, and
the energy.
We stuck together, and we would always go get
creates an
tacos
output
and
between
tortas
everybody.
and bring it back to studio. We're eating it. You get that smell right before class, and we're always joking around, having fun. We'd be there later than everybody. We'd be there till 3 in the morning.
Everyone stays late.
Everybody go home. Everybody's going,
cigarettes and drinking a lot of coffee and not really necessarily at your desk drawing.
That was our family.
Architecture school is a really
we had a couch in there.
specific environment.
We had
you can't
fridges
possibly
full
put
of
that much work into something,
Mexican sodas
like hours
and things of that stuff. So
one
it was
drawing or whatever,
crazy.
and make it be productive. You could tell an architect that it's due tomorrow, and they'll put in the 12 hours, and it might actually look the same as if they spent a whole week on it.
That's true.
I should have gone home earlier than I did because I just every 5 minutes I would take a little bit of glue and put it somewhere and then stop and figure out what the hell it is that I just did and then start over again. So
I have this terrible thing that happens to me that I call the design high, where I can't fall asleep because I can't stop thinking about my project.
Yep.
And it's like I get home and the whole walk home I'm exhausted.
That was me. I would always remember we'd finish everything, and I started walking across the street to my apartment, which was right in front of our studio. I get home, take a shower, I close my eyes, and at that time I was doing all this parametric stuff, and I was really into it. And then every time I closed my eyes in my head, I would like start making all these. If you guys ever use Grasshopper or a parametric program, you guys will see little nodes, right? Blender, you guys see a little node stuff similar to that. And in my head, I would start seeing all these connections, all these things I wanted to do with the project, and I'm over here in my head solving things like, oh, how can I get the sun to control my aperture? And at this time when I was there, we had resources, but a lot of it was just yourself, right? Things you piece together, things from different YouTube videos, and you apply it to your project, right? Tessellation, how can I get tessellation to react to the sun, things of that nature. And then just every day, every night, it was just like non-stop in my head. It's like boom, 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 boom. And then it gets so bad, like she said, that you want to go back to the studio and do it. And oftentimes, like, I had to force myself to sleep or force myself to get some sleep. But I had notebooks. I have like 20 notebooks in my saved, and just drawings of doodles of my ideas, of what I'm thinking, everything like that. Then I get to studio, I start trying it, or I be at home, and I'm like, I gotta get up and do this. So I have my own desktop at home and a laptop. So I would always do the Google Drive, because that's the way to kind of relay everything. I would get on my desktop and start working right after studio 3. It was 2 a.m. I worked till 7 a.m. when I had back to go to studio. And that was me. It was just
brush my teeth,
constant
wash my face,
clicking in my head.
and get into bed. I need to go back to studio.
And what's crazy is like there's some people that are way better at it than you, right?
To make room for your ideas.
Some people
architects are masochists in some ways. You're in there to all hours of the night. You're cutting yourself at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're rushing to the hospital to get stitched. I mean, you're putting these models together that you're tearing apart and then putting them together again. And then you're going through this iterative process of evaluation that is incredibly personal, but yet also very public. And you're constantly putting yourself on display, opening yourself up to attack and criticism. I mean, it's intense. Why would you subject yourself to that and put yourself through that if you didn't love it?
And I think we all go in loving it. We all love it. And then by first year, if you love it, right? I think what's naive of us, now looking back at it, right, is I guess we didn't do enough research, right? Where is this going to take us? And a lot of us want to be star architects or want to be famous, right? I think the percentage of that is like less than winning the lottery that you're going to be famous. But we love it. We go in loving it. We love it. We still love it. I love it. Even though I like hate working, right? But I love it. And yeah, it's a sentiment we all share. And right there, she probably messed up her model, which happens a lot. And it's kind of cool to see a different school's culture, but it's so relatable because we all go through this, right? It's different levels. The critique, here we go. That's what I'm here for.
The structural system does not separate between each unit. Usually the span of structure encompasses 3 or 4 units.
I
or maybe more.
Well, I understand, but I don't see why that has to necessarily be the case, especially.
It necessarily be the case. It has to be this case.
I understand that I don't have to, but I think it's important for the, for the resolution.
It's fine. It's wrong.
Why is it wrong? Tell us why it's wrong.
Economically.
It's not wrong. It's
systems.
We could critique his whole project in terms of the economy.
But you're done.
Basically, they're these walls. In terms of his diagram.
Yeah. Those have to be every other third wall is structural.
I mean, then that completely ruins the areas.
So this is just a glimpse, and that's exactly what happens. So depending on who's going to critique you, right? We have it's going to either be professionals, teachers, etc. And a lot of teachers will bring in their friends from other firms to critique. You could get tore up. Here he is there. I mean, I think here critiquing the structural portion of it is kind of like, yeah. At this level, you're not like really a structural engineer and economically. He's right. You can go all day long about critiquing the economics of the design, right? I think that's where a lot of these some gentlemen focus on that, right? Because they're from firms, right? They're used to like, I got a budget, we got to build some budget, so we have certain systems that you got to follow, right? But what's good here is that the student is defending his design, and a lot of students don't do that. They give in to the criticism. I was a staunch defender of all my designs, regardless if they were wrong. And that's what led me to get hired in second year. But it also backfired on me fourth year when I just got chewed up, thrown under the bus by professors, by everybody. It was my first day in studio, and it was because I didn't listen to whatever they were emphasizing. But that's another story for another day.
It does not ruin anything.
It wasn't necessary to have that conversation.
Exactly.
The point was made, and then that's it. I understood the point. They understood or I thought he understood my point. I thought that should be the end of it, and then there were more important things to talk about and other people that had to talk to them, and still talking about it for 20 minutes.
One thing that I always have an issue with is like students get so frustrated if they don't have a good critique.
Mm-hmm.
I think they misinterpret what a good critique is. I mean, by definition, it's a critique. It's a criticism.
Exactly. And that's what I always said to people in school, because we had student-to-student critiques, right? And some students just wanted to hear like, oh, your project's the best. But no, that's not what a critique is. And I even told this to the professor, like, no, I welcome the criticism. I welcome what's wrong with my project, because that's what's going to make my project better. That's what's going to make your project better. And if we're, coming from a Hispanic culture where we don't lie to each other, if we tell you, like, you're fat, es gordo, right? Or this and that, flaco, this, like, we're not lying. We're built with that criticism because it makes us better. That's the first thing I noticed when I got to my school is, like, I got there from California where we were used to criticizing people, even in our community college. And we had this desk-to-desk criticism of everybody's project. What I did notice, and I think I spoke about this in another card video, is that people were copying people from that time, which was, I think, shop architects was the in thing at that moment. People were copying their stuff, just modifying it slightly. And we had to write down criticism, put them on our desk, right? I kid you not, everybody, I was like, you copied this? This is not original. A girl cried, literally, because she copied. But it was fair criticism. It's criticism. It's not, and I would like to believe because of our criticism, somebody's projects. And when we were together as a minority group, like our little set of minority groups, like we went hard on each other. Like we weren't scared to say our thing sucked, that thing sucks, this and suck. But we always backed it up with some good commentary that helped us develop our projects. And then one of my friends' name was Arturo. He was like him and Daniel. Like they've made some of the coolest projects I've seen at the school. And I think they were very successful. But overall as a group, I think our project stood a little bit above the rest. But there was always this, I don't want to say racism, but there was always this favoritism towards the Caucasian students.
So if you go into a critique and all the critics, all they can do is blow hot air up your ass and tell you how great the project looks, well, that's still not, to me, that's not a good critique.
Exactly.
They didn't criticize anything.
I agree.
To me, a good criticism is if you can inspire enough thought based on what they see and what they hear. If it inspires enough thought, then they will criticize. Not criticize in the sense of attacking. They're going to criticize because whatever you showed them inspired enough thought that they have their own opinion about the thing now. That's a criticism.
I'm not gonna argue with you because I have a feeling it wouldn't be productive.
We could go on all night. We could.
I know that's not the point.
You would stop and listen occasionally. We'd be able to find, some resting spot.
That was me right there.
Where we're kind of talking about the same thing, and you allow us to help you.
And the other thing,
I think that was my issue when I went in. I was like, I didn't think I needed help. I thought I knew better than the professors, and I had all these crazy ideas. And I think one professor, his name was Thaddeus, he told me like, "Hey, you're really good, but you never finish your projects." He's all, "That's what you lack." But I don't know, I think I might have ADHD or something. But I had enough there that it was criticizable. It was just these crazy things.
I think that is sometimes very negative is the idea that the student should be trained to do a sales pitch in this jury process. I mean, I think that really probably the student should at first be silent, and the jurors should really start to ask questions about the drawings and try to understand the
the project in a more Socratic way, you know, rather than this sales pitch followed by criticism.
One of our professors, I think second year, taught us
if you're a smart architecture student, you're listening very closely.
So we would write down our whole project narrative in 2 minutes.
And how that work is coming out of you.
What we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to show our design in 2 minutes. Once the 2 minutes of that, they was like, thank you, that's my project, please, any questions? And that gives you enough time for people to open dialogue and ask questions. Here's the models we're gonna make, or you're gonna make if you join architecture school every single week. Maybe not now. I think maybe more now. It's like all digital, right? I don't know. Somebody can let me know in the comments below. The best architects
in my view are the ones who bring a coherent view of the world to design. Those are the folks that become the best architects.
Vice president
in the sense that they're the ones that progress the profession, innovate, create new ideas.
And I think I wrote a paper once about this.
Like, learning how to think clearly.
How can the profession move ahead when the majority of them are Caucasian, middle, high income? What culturally has the profession done to increase its value?
You're not practical.
When there's a barrier of income, entry for other minorities. And my whole thesis was that culturally diversing architecture was the way to push it forward.
Between these two kind of spheres,
𝗏𝗡𝗧𝗏𝗧
and it'd be impossible to
I visited
one or
his
the other.
office.
One, you'd be practical and never produce a piece of work of any interest. The other, you'd be producing work that has no meaning or no connectivity.
They call them the big three: Tom Main, Gary,
I think
and
design
Eric
requires a
Warnemans.
certain kind of
I think they all went to
smartness
Harvard.
that holds those schizophrenic views simultaneously in one's thinking. Even as a young person, you know whether you can do that, and as you mature, it's quite rewarding to have those opposing views in your mind at all times.
There's not just one role for an architect. There are all different kinds of contributions an architect can make in the culture. The question of what's a good architect, I think that there are many different perspectives that come at the project as it's developing. And what's important for the architect is to be able to listen to people outside of themselves and take that and then give something of themselves to a project and make something incredibly unique and wonderful.
It has to be a person who's really willing to learn in a way that architects need to learn, which is they need to learn something every day for the rest of their lives. Yep. You've got to be, in a sense, kind of driven by that, in a sense, kind of inner force. But I think you also have to have the ability to kind of work through something and to be able to look at particular problems and be able to kind of listen and learn and examine with great patience some of those questions. So again, it's a kind of left brain, right brain kind of dichotomy that is, constantly, those demands are constantly placed on you as an architect.
There are other disciplines that bring other things to the table, but I think our ability to envision or imagine something that is not there, it's almost spooky to people. They this notion that you can look at a site or look at a parking lot and see a building there, I think it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary skill, and we are one of the few disciplines that can do that. I would not trade for anything the skill set that I learned in school.
And it's something I've always said, right? It's like I may hate the profession, right? But I love the skills I learned there. I love the analytical, the critical thinking that you learn being at architecture school, because that can translate through so many fields. And what you'll see and you'll notice if you look at the statistics that a lot of the students go to other fields that are not architecture, set design, 3D artists, all because you learn so much. And I agree with them. The skills you learn, very unique and applicable to a way more broader sense. Construction administration, construction management, like VDC, we do it all in architecture school, and then we can just branch out into different sectors. I personally branch out into like BIM management, which is software,
because it's very, very, very unique to our discipline, and that's what we bring to the table.
You can see the presentation boards, those are 200 a pop.
don't believe schools of architecture, either historically or today, have particularly prepared young architects for the realities of architectural practice.
I agree with her.
Again, referring to this notion of a safe space where one can fail, where one can push the envelope in a sense. I think the academy always needs to be that. In a certain sense, you're a bit freer of the constraints of the real world.
Yeah.
We need to understand that those constraints also have to be brought into the academy so students can begin dealing with them and dealing with them in an inventive and creative way.
And I do agree with that. I think bringing some of the real world into the academy makes sense. Fully no. I think there still has to be that creative juice to inspire you, right? Because if you start just throwing code and analysis, all this stuff at the first years, you're going to lose them. So I think, but introducing it slowly as you go into your years, and maybe fifth year, you are designing a full-on complex where you have to meet code requirements, you have to meet fire rating requirements, but use all that knowledge you learned from design. I think that would translate well. But now, more nowadays, I think this gap is closing because a lot of your designs now, thanks to like Rhino inside Revit, you're allowed to go from a design software, which is Rhino, into a construction software, which is Revit. So the gap between design and construction is slowly shrinking. It's allowing you to think both in design and constructability, right? So, but I think prompts and projects should include some real world variable that might dictate how you design the building, right? I had a good professor. Her name was Betsy. We did a SRO for her class, and we had our real world constraint was the SRO. We had a certain amount of units we had to do, and then basically the site was ours. How do we incorporate that? So you need a real life constraint to encourage more outside the box thinking to apply your skills to it.
I think the academy should be a kind of idealized space, but it also has to be a kind of laboratory, a testing ground for the real world. And I don't think we're so good with the latter. I mean, we are still that ivory tower.
That's true.
Sometimes I think we lose a little bit of the reality of what our job is and what our profession is really about.
Yeah.
I think people really forget the reality of what it's going to be like to be working as professionals.
There you go. And that's what it is right there. And that was, I mean, I started working in my second year. So imagine that. Like on one hand, you're over here working in the firm doing traditional stuff. On the other hand, over here, you're like trying to do crazy stuff at school. There's this contradiction there. But yeah, this is like what a typical office still looks like today. Just open cubicle space next to people, just detailing stuff out.
Architecture school is really unique because it's probably the only time that many of architecture students get to work on their own projects, because after that it's, architecture is basically a service industry.
Yeah.
I think that the profession is a lot different from the education in that you never work alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to design an entire building by yourself. There's always other people that you have to network with, or design with, or consult. That collaboration.
You'll find out quickly that you're not doing any
present
structure
in school, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because during school you're trying to develop your own sort of way of working.
Which I think in my school years they changed that. So a lot of the projects were like
their education is not preparing them to be kind of architects in the full sense of the word architect, being both poets.
So you had to figure out how to divide your work.
They are wonderful, they're talented, they're smart. The tragedy is that the students are not sufficiently prepared.
And that's a typical study model right there. If you look at the model, it's like patched up together, but it's to get this point across, right? It's meant as a study model so that you can just show them something. Later on, they'll probably define it into a proper...
They either function at the poetic level or they function at the pragmatic level. Mm-hmm. The two shall never meet. So we have to kind of help them put those two together.
Do like a series of overlays where you'd start to see like if there's different spaces like this, how they would interact.
So the walls are they're retaining walls. They're retaining earth. They're retaining memories.
It's like an earthwork, yeah.
But like if you give me a word like that, we can respond to it, right? Let me ask you this: why are they working just to put these things? They're making things.
Yeah.
Right, and they're making things because.
This is very typical because your classes are so small. you get this one-on-one interaction with your professor, which I think is probably one of the best qualities of architecture school. Especially when you're not dealing with like bigger firms or bigger schools, you still get this interaction. Because even if you're in a big school like USC, you still have probably just 10 students, right? So you get these one-on-one talks with your professor, which is really cool.
They want to create something of value, right? Why do they just want to put it in storage?
That's true.
Do I think I might not be an architect? Sure. The likelihood that I work in an office after I graduate is pretty high, though. I don't think that people have to be stuck there for like 3 years and then get their license and then they do their own stuff. I want to start doing my own stuff and work in an office.
I look forward to seeing what's going to happen.
It's a lot harder.
I'm excited to see what my signature ends up being.
You're limited in what you can do when you're not.
I want to teach and I want to write and I want to work for a firm that will let me do all of these things.
I want to get some experience in a larger firm to see how they work and see how they operate. Do that, and then hopefully the long-term goal is to, start my own practice.
The remarkable thing to me is how optimistic students of architecture are.
And we've all said that. We've all said that when we graduate. It's like, we're gonna work, we're gonna make our own firm, and like
how they sustain that optimism. And again, it's almost a bit like an actor or actress that they still cherish that belief that they're going to break out of the chorus line in some way, even though the reality, as it is on Broadway, is very, very different. In part, it could be how they very quickly imbibed this notion of the star architect and this belief that, against all odds, that they might be able to make it.
Mm-hmm. Well, today I think a lot of people, when they think of architecture, they think of architects. They think of the handful of brand name architects that they might have heard of, which to me is rather limiting.
People only know Frank Gehry, I mean, there's other architects out there that are doing better work, greater work, more important work than Gehry.
The problem is that the way we teach architecture right now is we sort of train everybody to do that exact same thing. The whole sort of pedagogical model.
Sorry, stop recording. There was a disturbance in the force out there. I had to go set up some kids.
Like Frank Gehry, they wanted to create great sculptures in the landscape. Mm-hmm. Whether those sculptures worked or not was largely irrelevant. The ability to use aerospace engineering to come up with forms that hadn't been built before was considered to be a primary task of someone coming out of school. That's over. That's over.
It's not over, sir. It's not over. It's made us more bolder for the next generation.
I would argue that this current generation of beginning students of architecture have the capacity to reshape a world like we've never seen before. And they need to have access to as much technology and as much discourse, meaningful discourse surrounding these techniques and these tools so that they're fully prepared to go out into the world in the future to do something positive and productive.
Students are coming out, they're working with individuals around the world who need shelter and who need ways of living that are affordable and supportable and sustainable. The students themselves have been pushing to force faculty to think differently about the way faculty see the environment, use the environment, and create objects that serve not just the aesthetic interests of the architect.
It's fundamentally an optimistic profession. You don't go into architecture if you're a pessimist, if you don't actually believe that the world can get better. So I think you've got a bunch of optimists that go into this design profession who actually believe that their buildings are going to make the difference in somebody's life.
I think that the built environment is something that people have such an appreciation for. If you don't care about this, then what do you care about?
It's about understanding human behavior, human desire, human want. Architecture is what you experience in your daily life on the street, the space of the street, how you navigate the street, how you relate to the buildings around you.
People tend to think architecture is done for and by other people. it's, you know, it's also done by you if you decide to maybe put a new window in your house or change the traffic flow in your house or your office.
At architecture school, you got the freedom to, you don't like something, do something about it. That's what they told you for 5 years. Do something about it. Doesn't matter what, just do something about it.
The school is kind of about a way of thinking, and what you're going to do in architecture school is not what you think it's going to be, you know? That you're not going to go in there and you know, be designing colonial homes and things like that.
We don't just need shelter, we need atmosphere, and we need to be inspired. I think one of the most important things you can take from this school is not to lose your ambition. It's not just, you know, 4 walls and a roof. There's more into it. There's like a life to it that I think we get here, and we should really take with us everywhere you go.
You're gonna come to architecture school. I hope you understand the creative process. I hope you understand the transformation that your mind and body and psyches is gonna go through. That's true. Because there is nothing absolute about this.
Did they tell us what happened to them? Where they're gonna be? Hopefully. Oh, they didn't. Who's the... Can we find out? Let's see. Oh, they do towards the end, I think. So let's hop over to the end. I think that's what they tell us.
Think about that, Mr. Doc Boy. Yeah, making a movie, huh?
Right. Yeah. What you guys should think about it. We'll just jump into it. I'm interested. Let's see. What happened to the students?
The museums that New York City has to offer are each designed very different.
Oh, that's for another video. I don't think we have it, so that'd be cool. Do we have... Let's see. Oh, we have it here. Let's go. 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗜𝗢𝗡. Here you go. I don't think she did. Let's see. Whoa, she moved to England. Let's see. I gotta sign in. So don't look, guys. Don't look. Let's sign in and see what happened to these students. There you go. 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗜𝗢𝗡, co-founder. Wow. She went to... Yeah, she's from Pratt, 2008. Damn, she made a... So this girl made a company called Automated Architecture. Business housing or success. So yeah, she went into housing. That's that girl. I think I've seen that actually. Huh. So it's interesting. All right, that was her. Let's see. Oh, that's that one girl too. There you go. So she's a senior associate AIA. So I think she's an architect. So she stayed in a relative area. Cool. So she's an architect. So that's 2 out of 3. Wait. No, I don't think the other Molly was an architect. Oh, so this guy didn't become an architect. He's a freelance designer of construction management service. So he's a freelancer. Hey, good on him, man. He went to Pratt. He worked as a designer, project manager. Pretty cool. So that's 1 out of 2. To Mike Toasty. Is it this guy? Looks like it's this guy. Such architect. Oh yeah, it's like he looks way. Hey, he looks like a cool guy. PhD. Wow. So this guy went full into the education. So he's a Master of Architecture and then Bachelor of Arts. Now he's working on his PhD. Wow. Oh, he got it. That's cool. Good on him, man. Let's see the last person, which was I think it's this. Oh, he works at Gansler. This guy. That's cool. So he's been at Gansler for 9 years. Nice. He's associate. Is he an architect? I don't think so, because it would say architect here. Oh no, project architect. There you go. Cool, man. So yeah, that was a quick little video. Well, quick. I don't even know how long this thing was. Like 30 minutes and stuff on Pratt and this group of kids. And I guess it goes to show you can go very different places, right? I think it just goes to the diversity of these people. I'm almost curious to see, besides what they became, what their backgrounds was, like in terms of economic backgrounds, right? That kind of would dictate where you kind of branch off into. And that's, that gives you an idea of where to go. But obviously, if you're well off, you have better connections, you have better jobs, better opportunities to make a company, etc. But this is a cool building. Hopefully you guys like the video. You can check out the video for yourselves. Archiculture. I'll put the link in the description down below. I don't know if it's their direct link, but this is the one I found on YouTube. So you guys can check it out and tell me how you guys like it. And we'll see what any of you future students like. But like I said before in the videos, take the time, research it, look up videos, what it's like. Now a lot of architecture students want to blog and become blogitechs, whatever they're called. But I think take that all for granted. It's not all. It's like faking luxury life on Instagram, right? It's all like foof. So really look at the history, the pay, and everything, so you guys get a better understanding what the field is like and if it's right for you. Because but don't be mad because even if you go into the field or you're in the field, like you can diversify yourself pretty good. Anyways, that's the video. Click and subscribe. Let me know if you guys like the video. See ya. Blueprints out.